Hey guys, welcome back to the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. The Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. We are so happy that you guys are back, and we are truly honored to be sitting with an H-Town legend. Not just an H-Town legend, but a legend in the industry.
Her husband.
Mr. Madd Hatta, y'all.
You really read that off like you were reading the bouncy ball on a newscast?
Listen. First of all, I had to acknowledge the fact that before these cameras started rolling, our guest here didn't know that we were married.
I would not be on a podcast.
Look, some people have names of shows, and marriage is a part of the conversation along with the finances and the real estate. I didn't realize that. And obviously, I have to be honest, I'm always on the move. And, I just recently had a baby. So everything, is about him. So I don't watch a lot of stuff. I only listen to KTSU, trying to make it better. And so I don't see a lot of stuff. So I didn't even, and y'all chemistry is kind of like, y'all come across as just friends. I didn't.
Dude,
Okay.
what are husband and wives supposed to come off like?
I don't know, y'all. I didn't, sometimes, you might see somebody's hands touch, or there might be some sly remark about something that happened this morning. Until he says something about the breakfast table when they get up and he had to roll her out the bed or something like, okay.
Yeah, no.
She don't like none of that. If I was walking around like touching her and stuff, it would freak her out.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
really?
I'm about business when it's business, and then personal when it's personal. But when it's business, I'm just.
So she's not the type to hold hands in public and all.
I should hold hands.
I'll hold hand, but
So,
don't put your tongue in my mouth in public.
Here's the problem.
That
When
kind
we
of stuff.
dated, I like to go to the grocery
Now,
store.
how long y'all been married?
We've been married 7 years.
Okay. How long have y'all known each other?
Almost 10. So it'll be, well, I guess 9.
nine.
9 in
10.
August. Yeah. I'm already at year 10. But no, so I like the grocery store. And I remember one time, and this is when I knew she ain't like public touch. There was nobody in the store. It's like
Public affection.
12 at night. I tried to give her a kiss, like, a French kiss. She's like, you can't kiss me at no store. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's nobody around. It's like, people are watching. Who? What? It's like 12 at night.
For clarity, I'm a pastor's child.
Oh, well, they also have well, it depends.
There's a balance. There's a fine line, right? So you
'Cause I
don't
met
see.
some preachers' kids, and whew.
I mean, but
The other way. They go that other
they go the
Yeah,
other way.
man.
But think about, you don't see the pastor like PDA and his wife up and down.
Some pastors getting wild in the church.
Baptist, I'm Baptist.
not too far, but
Baptist
I've seen
pastors.
some be rather affectionate. I think it's cool.
I don't have a problem with it for other people.
Just ain't gonna be. What attracted you to her? Look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just started.
This is a
I'm
therapy
sorry.
session. Y'all ready for marriage and real
This
estate
is a
therapy?
show about being married and doing real estate.
It
This
is.
is exactly what we're about.
Okay,
It is,
So
it is.
when I first met her, and I'm gonna be 100% transparent,
Oh,
Don't
God.
do anything that's
she has a
wrong.
nice shape.
Oh.
So we met. We ain't really talk like that. But when she was leaving, we met through a mutual friend. I used to build for MD Anderson, and when I was building for MD Anderson, one of my project managers who I worked with, who was a friend of mine, she had a brunch at her house. I never used to go to her stuff. Finally went to her stuff. She was at the house. Never had gone to her stuff either. And when she was leaving, I was asking my friend's husband. I was like, "Yo, what's up with your girl or whatever?" I was recently divorced, and he was like, "Man." He's like, she a good girl, but she got that thing. Like she,
That's what you want to say? That's what you want to put on a podcast? As somebody's husband said that?
He just said you had a nice shape, that you had a big butt.
Wow. We should take that out.
Why? It's real. This is real life. Anyway, leave it in.
Okay.
So the point is, you had a nice shape.
This
I
podcast
wanted
has
your
already
number.
gone
It's
wrong.
his
We
fault.
ain't it-
No,
No,
it's
I
perfectly
wanted
fine.
to know. I think, but
This
you know
is
what?
real life.
Listen, you should already know this already.
She know.
So,
No, I do know.
but she
I
don't
do
want
know.
to say it publicly
I-
that
no,
you admired her
Why?
shape.
Let-
He saw
She's
you.
married.
He saw you, and he thought you were beautiful, and
The
he
fact
admired
that y'all
you.
missed that somebody's husband said that about another woman, and now it's on a public podcast, that might be problematic. That's the part I'm talking about.
No, I don't. I think it's.
He don't care.
It was not that he cares. I mean, his wife might feel some type of way, but there, you're not blind either. You know somebody's beautiful now, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Long as he ain't over there trying to, holler at you on the side, and he never did that, there's
Never.
nothing to worry about.
And his wife's the one that got the number. She was out there too.
Right.
So-
and his wife they probably had that conversation. Hey, such and such got a good shape, huh? Yeah,
Okay.
she do look all right, huh?
Okay.
He just made that all better. I was gonna leave that raggedy in the road.
This is what I do. This is what I do.
We might have to.
Anyway, so got her number, and I'm recently divorced. I wasn't hollering at chicks like that. So I was like, I called my sister. My sister was like, you got to wait 2 days to call her. So I was like, okay. So I waited 2 days and I called her.
Rules.
And then I called her, and you can tell the rest. You tell the story better than me.
Oh,
She tells a much
did
better
he ask
version.
for the full story? Okay. Anyway, he called me. And he said, "What attracted you to me?"
Your shape initially, and then your
I'll take
brain
that.
later.
And my brain.
Still like that shape though. That shape ain't let me down.
All right, calm down, everybody.
Yeah, calm him down, y'all.
We still got the visuals here.
We do.
That's good. You got that kind of energy.
Oh, podcast episodes used to be wild. Like early days, we used to be very marriage heavy because we do real estate for a living, right? So we talk about the marriage piece too. We had like a sex therapist on. We did like a
that's
whole
good.
marriage talk. Like
That's good.
I like transparency. She don't like that. The marriage piece.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
You just super private. So why you got a podcast if you super private?
I didn't say I was.
We live in a
You said
world.
I
We
was
live
too
in a
private.
world. We live in a very voyeuristic world, and people want to be all up in your business. They want to know what you're doing, how you're doing it. And the podcast world is so they can do that. But I'm the same way too. I was always limited in my information. I didn't start saying I had adopted kids until years after radio. And the people that I work with, they didn't even know that I had kids. I never brought them around. I never talked about them. And then one day on the air, I said something, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I go through the same thing with my kids. And everybody on the show just and we're live on the air. And I'm like, what are y'all looking at? I'm like, oh
my God.
We never heard you talk about, what kids are you talking about? Yeah, that's a long story.
I mean, you are an enigma, and for me, and I'm sure for Kevin, like we've heard you on the radio for many years, and all we know is Mr. Madd Hatta, but that's about it. I don't think anybody knows very much about you outside of the radio.
That's true.
Not if you're married, what you do outside of the radio, what you do for fun. Aren't there children? None of that ever.
Yeah, I was private when it came. Yeah, I was kind of private, especially when you're dealing with women and things like that, because you want to know if the person that you're with is true. Look, I was a young guy for a couple of those years.
When Down South, Where I Stayed came out, did you have like all the chicks?
No, I didn't. You know what's so funny? I don't trust people. I don't trust, and I'm not like, I'm not a big believer in tricking off dough. I'm very, when it comes to cash, I'm a hoarder. So I'm very surroundings, people that I'm around. My circle is very, 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 very small. I don't really, ironically, I don't talk a lot. I'm usually alone. I love to be alone, but that's changed now. My best partners now is my wife and my son, because the two oldest girls, they out there trying to learn how to be adults right now.
Yep. So we haven't even introduced
I'm sorry.
who you are. Why you getting all in my business?
I'm blame it on me.
I think you did. I mean, you said H-Town legend.
I did, but I just said like H-Town legend. But who are you, Mr. Madd Hatta?
That's a fair question. I'm a person, I love music. It was my first love. I loved radio and broadcasting and what it was all about in the infancy, the golden era, maybe between the 50s and very early 90s, somewhere around the mid to late 90s, it started to shift a little bit and be different where, you just get on the air and talk about famous people and that's a show. I was from an era with the Tom Joyners and these guys. Was it just about the entertainers? It was about the show that they were doing. So they did things that were funny. They did these little bits. And I still tried to hold on to that tradition for a long time of just doing a well-rounded show. We're going to give you some information. We're going to give you some fun stuff. We're going to give you some dumb songs. I don't care if I don't look cool or sound nerdy. And that was my purpose for having Jimbo there, because he was able to bring out that, when you urban, you have a tendency to like, we think we too cool for the room. You need somebody there that's going to break up the cool. And there was a lot of things I would have never done. The plays we used to do. And, we just did a lot of things. But I wanted to do a full service show where we couldn't be in some box. most shows now over the last 10 to 15 years, you can put them in boxes.
Okay.
This is what they do,
Yeah.
and that's all they do.
Yeah.
But, we could play the music. We understood the music. We participated in the music scene. You could do nerdy songs. We would sing. We would rap. We went to the school. I mean, it was full circle. We're in the community, political one minute and cracking jokes the next. I just think that people needed that balance. And, when you drive into work and stuff like that, I was really dedicated to the service of the community. And I remember when I used to listen to the radio and being that guy working 7 jobs, putting myself through college, being so miserable, like wishing I could be the guy that's talking and the way he made me feel when he was playing new records or saying this or saying that. And I wanted to give people that same feeling. And I hope I achieved that. So,
I mean, you did with us too.
You did with us.
I hope so.
And I think if you're not from Houston, Texas, I implore you to Google Madd Hatta Morning Show. Something's got to come up.
How long did the morning show run?
The morning show literally was on 20 years.
Yeah, it had to be. Yeah.
Now, my career in Houston is much longer, my friends. But the morning show aspect, because I came here in 93, did nights when it was Magic, when it was 10, was it 102?
When 102 was hip hop and 97.9 was R&B.
So they did that, and then, owners come in, they buy up everything. So I was going to leave and go to Detroit. Never told anybody that. But then they made me an offer that I could not refuse in Houston, so I stayed and did afternoons.
Thank you.
And then years later, earlier actually, when Robert Scorpio, I don't know if y'all remember,
we do.
He was doing the morning show. Initially, I was supposed to be doing the morning show then, but there wasn't corresponding numbers to that time slot, so time had to wait.
So a little bit of pop culture for you. This is relevant today.
Sure.
Are we going to see you in the Freaknik documentary coming out?
I was working too hard.
Okay.
That's the big talk. Hey, man, I think it's so funny that a lot of people think about it. There was a time where we had the Kappa Beach party.
We did.
Some of y'all who are watching this right now were at the Kappa Beach.
And
I was at the Kappa.
I seen literally,
Excited?
I'm not going to get too explicit,
Please
but
don't.
in the traffic, riding down the seawall, I seen people right there, might be in their trucks, the back is open, and they're having sex.
She from Galveston.
Regularly, right? The whole way. There's some girl on videotape, or women and men on videotape, that have done some things at the Kappa Beach party. To me, it was, I didn't go to the Freaknik, but I'm sure it was comparable to the Kappa Beach party.
What you're saying is they need a Kappa Beach party documentary too.
Well, it was a little one, but it didn't show. Probably with Jermaine Dupri and Luke are going to show in this Freaknik.
Oh, Luke
So
and
you
Jermaine
remember when
Dupri.
Freaknik came to Houston and it was at Chancellor's?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
No.
It was like one party. It wasn't like the whole thing.
That wasn't a real Freaknik. That was just some people,
It
some
was then the
promoters.
time that Freaknik was down. Like,
Right.
Anyway, it was wild.
Was it crazy?
I was 16
Oh, wow.
with a fake ID.
Oh, wow.
Went to Freaknik. Fake IDs were like a thing in my life at a time. Anyway, it was insane. Like, people pulling out, people doing stuff right there. It was like a whole thing.
Oh
So
my
I can
God.
only imagine what
It
Freaknik
was crazy, man. I had,
documentary was.
and I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed the Kappa Beach party,
I'm sure you did.
not because of the wild stuff that was going on. It was from a music standpoint. I saw the Little Troy record get broke there. Like everybody was rolling up and down that seawall playing "Wanna Be a Baller," and you saw music happening. I was lucky to have signed Paul Wall and Chameleonaire, and I saw their greatness growing right there on the seawall with their mixtapes. And so I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
The power of these mixtapes, and didn't fully understand what was going on, but being able to sit there. So to me, it was an outlet for music. Yeah, it was fun, and you could fornicate if that's your thing. I wouldn't have been in that mix like that because, I'm private like you are. And I can't be on no cameras, and we just, in the front of the homies, and we having a party like that. I'm be like, we can go.
You don't want to be like Aaron Hall? You ain't see that Aaron Hall clip?
Oh my God, that was horrible. It's actually down.
Oh, I'm gonna show Latoya. Latoya, you got to see the Aaron Hall clip.
Is it bad?
the clip down? Oh,
Where was he at? Is it something he
You
did?
can't
He
It
even-
was
was
on
in
the
concert
internet.
here?
So no. It wasn't a concert.
just a
It was an
clip.
interview, and he basically talked about how he likes to have sex in public.
And he
he's
said
like,
you could ask
everybody.
Denzel
He's-
Washington and
Diddy, Usher. He's like, everybody done seen me.
Well, and I forgot the
have
young
me
lady
say.
he was married to. He lets it be known that he does have a very freaky side.
Yeah.
He's
Oh.
always been honest about that.
okay.
So
And I'm sure
So where are you from?
I'm originally from North Carolina. I'm from a place called Fayetteville, North Carolina.
No
I
Fayetteville.
was born in
Okay.
Fort Bragg, a military. I think they changed the name because he was some racy Confederate. Anyway, but it was near Fort Bragg. So my father was military, so we traveled a lot. I lived in Germany for about 7 years. Actually had a stint in Texas, but it was El Paso and Hawaii, and we lived a lot of places. But I call North Carolina home. That's where we kind of like built a home, and when all was said and done, that's where my dad went back to, and then he broke out and did some stuff for a couple of years we don't know.
Oh man, where'd you go to school?
I went to school at North Carolina A&T in Greensboro.
Oh, okay.
Aggie Pride is
Kayla
in
wants
the
to go to North Carolina
Yeah.
A&T.
Yeah, a lot of people going to North Carolina A&T. I don't know what's going on there.
Our oldest daughter wants to go there.
incredible. I just went back recently. When I was there, I was just starting to see this uppity crowd kind of like going to the school. When I went back, it was crazy. They got the little robots that take your food to your
Oh
room.
yeah.
They
Your
rolling
page got
all
those.
around. I was blown away
Yeah.
because, when I was going there, they tore everything down. The campus is magnificent. It's beautiful. I'm like, the alumni are spending money up in here.
Okay, so you don't count yourself in those numbers?
Well, I give my money, but not as much as I don't see my dollars on what they had got done. I'm glad that there's some other alumni that can make those things happen. I do my
He
contribution. and
told
give
you
back.
he ain't spending no money like that.
But okay,
But I give back. You got to give.
yeah, this is a man of the community. I mean, you're an enigma, but I also know that you're a man in the community.
Yeah,
I've
you
seen that too. So I imagine you give back in that way. So since we are on the Marriage and Real Estate podcast,
Yes.
we didn't just bring you on here because you're a legend. We brought you on here.
This interview is about her. This ain't got nothing to do with nobody
We
else.
also brought
I
you
appreciate
on.
y'all having me. I think
no,
that's really
I'm
nice.
sorry.
Thank you.
I was low-key fan.
Thank
Told you.
Thank
What
you.
I say?
I mean, if
I
you're from
appreciate
Houston,
it.
you
I
know.
really do.
If you know, you know. But you do
Because people
some real
forget
estate.
about you. You ain't on that radio no more. You are forgotten.
Now I'll
And
say
you
this.
can't walk around. And I never did because I'm still proud. It's funny because you never. The funny thing about it, when you've done what I've done for a long time, I don't really like attention.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because, when you grow up a particular way, you're defensive.
Yeah.
You think that it's time for you to fight. So somebody staring at you, we're urban, So I had to learn to, hey man, bring it back. I have to continuously, it's still now to this day, but people have done rude things. You're eating with somebody that comes sit at your table and start beatboxing or something.
Oh Lord.
Oh, crazy stuff. But you get used to it. But it's kind of it's sometimes that part of it's kind of weird because I feel like I'm two people.
Yep.
I just feel like it's two different people. You got Ben, which is my real name, and then you got Madd Hatta. This
Nobody knew
other
that.
thing.
Where did the name come from? I know the reference.
North Carolina A&T. I was just nosy. The reason why I went to school, I majored in communications. I thought I was going to be a big time producer like Teddy Riley, who obviously was with Aaron Hall, guy, stealing all his techniques and all his stuff. But I wanted to learn why radio was doing what it was doing. Because when I was growing up, you guys don't know about this. You've grown up and all you've ever heard is rap music and it was on the radio. When my era, yeah, I was there in the inception. They were not playing it. It was like R&B and no rap was the slogans of the station, or they would play the instrumental of the rap song. And I just wanted to understand why. So I went to the campus radio station. Lady by the name, the program director, Yvonne Anderson. I just spoke with this lady about 3-4 weeks ago for the first time in I don't know how many years. And I just wanted to tell her thank you for my career. But I was just asking all these questions when I went to the college radio station. And I guess because I was so inquisitive, she said, you know what, you should be on the air. And on campus, I guess people knew me, even though I was quiet. I just had a very unique style of dressing. And I always wore these Run DMC I forgot, brims.
Bucket hats?
No, not bucket hat, but they were like brims, like old cats be wearing.
Oh yeah,
So
like
you
the
remember-
brim with the scully with the
If you know Run DMC, little old school Stetson hats or whatever you were talking about. So I have one for the shower. I had one of them playing basketball. I was just like
You had one of
mindless
them
with the
hard
hat.
brims.
So I think people thought something was wrong with my head. I didn't mind though. And she said, and you should call yourself I'll put you on the air if you call yourself the Madd Hatta. Just out the blue. I wasn't really thinking about being on the air. Like way in the back of my mind. I'm a producer in my mind and writer of music. But when she said that, you should call yourself the Madd Hatta. And I was like, that's a dumb name. But if you're going to put me on the air, let me run my yap and play the songs I think should be played on the radio, I'm all for it. Yeah, come back on Monday, da-da-da-da. And it started everything. It was incredible. It was an incredible ride, man. So that lady is responsible. Life is about chance meetings. Yeah. Even like you guys talking about real estate. And when I learned that it was marriage and real estate podcast, I told the young lady, I'm like, I'm a passive real estate investor. I'm not really hardcore. Like y'all probably hardcore in it, know all the rules. I'm kind of one of those renegades. I just do what I feel at the time. And that's what my career was. I was just right place, right time. And even with my homes, right place, right time. Had a girlfriend, father had some homes. Hey, Ben, you should get some of these homes for us. Okay. It seemed like a reasonable price. Let me look, how much?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can afford that, sure. I couldn't afford it, but
you figured it out.
I figured
so
that I
what's
was
your
gonna be
portfolio look like now?
I only have 6 homes. I don't really have a lot of homes.
Some people don't have any homes.
I'm sorry. That came across like capping. I got to watch. I'm sorry. First of all, let me apologize. I only have.
We have more than 6 homes.
Bad.
You don't have to apologize.
No, because sometimes, you got to watch. Like, it was just like when I was talking about my shoes earlier, and somebody was like, oh, you got some new shoes? I'm like, nah, these are old. Well, no, ain't them the same ones you wore yesterday? Like, no, they're another one like these, but they're older. And I caught myself. I'm like, wow, that just sounded like capping, bro. And I'm like, so you have to monitor what you say because it's your life. It's not capping. They say it's not capping when it's your life, but it could appear to be capping. Okay. So you try to tame it. So again, I apologize for that. It was very passive. I fell into these homes. I had artists at one point. And, they might need a home or something like that. Yeah. So you're trying to look out for a homie. Yep. Yep. And one of my homies, he was in a particular game I won't say. But I went to the house. I bought the house. It was new. And in the, not the living room, the game room. The game room was painted his gang's color. I said, bro, you got to get out. I mean, it wasn't that just the walls were painted. The ceiling.
Oh, interesting.
And that color is hard to come out. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, I know exactly what.
Oh, my God, bruh, you have to get out. And, that was just, and then, you go by your families. Yep. My mother and father, my dad had did some quirky stuff, and a house that should have been paid off years had not been paid off. And he had passed away. And I told my mom, you ain't got to worry about this. I'll take care of all this stuff. Yeah. So I'm a very passive investor, but I do believe if you get about 10 homes, you good. And I know I throw that out there very leisurely because I think the real estate market is really, we're in a strange place in the world right now.
That is true.
With real estate, with money, artificial intelligence, with the different countries that are coming together and they say they're not going to use the American dollar anymore, which, this dynasty that has been called America, we could be living in a time where we see the dynasty change into a new dynasty. It's going to be interesting to watch what the powers that be try to do to stop it. And social media. Yeah. I don't think that people thought that social media was going to be as impactful as it is because now we have people who look like us, some who have been incarcerated, who have turned into these money gurus and home gurus. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, some of them kind of understand the game and they got it on lock and they telling you how you can do it like the Rockefellers did it and, how you can buy more homes. You might not be a fan.
I disagree.
I think, but you know what? They're piquing people's curiosity and getting them interested.
That's true.
And they're educating them to the degree of, you can't just listen to them and go do what they got to do. I mean, it's not going to be that easy to get the house. You got to do some more homework.
It's the sound bites that's the problem.
That's the problem.
It's the sound bites that's the problem.
And I get that, but for the other people, they're educating you in a way that you have not been educated
That is
at
true.
all. No one is
That's true. Okay, I'll take it.
understanding housing and investing in stocks and all cryptocurrency. We hadn't been told these things. We didn't know that we could pass on generations and give generational wealth to my kids' kids.
Yep.
And we hadn't, we're the first generation seemingly trying to do that. But even with our first generation of billionaires, they haven't figured out, to me, how to really start working together to really scare the system. Once they start doing that, we need the billionaires to work with the other billionaires, because when they put their billions together, now all of a sudden you're really moving the needle. And those people, I think, not that it's your responsibility. I get it. You can make your money and not do anything for anybody. But if you got enough, you most certainly should go back to your neighborhood.
I agree with that.
And start the process of changing this environment. Because when you change that environment, you change the child.
You change the world.
child.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you start breeding a whole new human being. And that's why it's so interesting for me to have a son now and be able to do that.
Here's where I disagree about the internet guru culture. At the end of the day, I think it's predatory to Black people, because a lot of times the opportunities that are promised based on the actual skill set, income, base level education is not the right opportunity for the people. And it ends up being predatory or opportunistic, where, hey, yeah, buy this course for $5,000. Or buy this
No, I'm
course.
not into that. I'm with you on that. I'm not into that.
When Aisha first got exposed to real estate, she went to this 3-day seminar with a friend, and she owned her house at the time. And they were like, oh, yeah, leverage up your credit cards to the tune of
Leverage your credit card
$20,000.
and mortgage your house to pay for this $30,000 real estate.
And you could buy a
investment.
house for $30,000.
Well, let me say this. I think you have to learn to do it your way. So I'm kind of like, what's the Ramsey cat? The
Dave
white cat?
Ramsey.
I know a lot of people don't like him, but I'll be honest with you. I've always read these books and went to those conferences, even when I was in college. I wasn't going to buy the programs, but I was interested in the information. But one day I was driving down the street, don't know why I was listening to this. This is several years ago. And he said that the paid off house is the new Mercedes or BMW. And
It's not true.
I just thought about that though. But the idea of having your home paid off really resonated with me. And, I had some of these properties, at this point I'm working on two little properties. And I'm like, what would it be like to just pay that off? What could I do with that money after I paid it off? And so I got into this thing, and, there's certain things I'll spend money on. I like cars, I like tennis shoes. And after that, I'll wear a thermal shirt and some black pants and call it a day. But the idea of paying for that house, man, was really, really, really sexy. So I'm like, I'm gonna pay off everything. Cars, paid off. And some people will tell you you shouldn't do that. But I believe if you can't afford it, don't buy it in the first place. And then have a plan. And yeah, you can get this big old beautiful car, but can you get that big old beautiful car for a great price? Can you negotiate and get some things do I have to get the one that's of this year? Can I get the one that might be 2 years old, still under warranty? Because as soon as you drive off the lot with that thing that costs $100,000, $150,000, you're going to lose
75.
You know what I'm saying? As soon as you drive off the lot. So I'm going to let you drive off the lot with it, take care of it. And then when you
bring it to me when you got 5 miles, like 2,000 miles.
There you go.
$3,600.
You got it. And then I'll go there and, you know what? Let me take that off your hand for an incredible price. So, it's that kind of thing. So I did like that about the rent. I believe pay off your bills, stay focused on that. I believe having no debt. But that's my belief.
Yeah.
That's my belief. I don't tell other people to do that. I don't listen to them. Oh, you should have this credit card. And I don't believe in that. I do believe in paying off your credit cards monthly. I do like the points. It really don't mean jack. But every once in a while, I use the little Chase one. And I do like, sometimes I like vitamins. I get a lot of it for free. I can't lie. I like that, And I think the American Express probably has the best credit card. These are my opinions, folks, not everybody else's. If you travel a lot and you fly a lot, though, I do think you get some benefits with that American Express. I know you guys probably have American Express, especially when you build and stuff. I know you travel. That is the card to have. If you're a builder and you travel a lot, it's just the
and
ultimate
you make
card
large purchases.
Oh, especially for that.
Large,
especially.
Like building costs hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. There's huge benefits with that card when you moguls like y'all. I'm a small time guy, but I still like the benefits of that card. I got a lot of nice things because of that. So.
The thing about it is, and I like what you said, it works for you. I think everybody is responsible to find out what works for them.
Gotta be.
And what we encourage people, and one of the reasons why we started the podcast or whatever to have kind of a dog in that fight was we'd sit down with a lot of couples with very mixed ideas of what wealth building is, generational wealth, real estate is, with just sound bites or buzzwords, no context, no background education, not actually wanting to learn real estate, but just kind of, I want to make some money. What's the fastest way I can, almost like gambling, right? So for us, it really became like, hold on, there are people changing their lives with real estate. There are couples maximizing, what they can pass down to their children, setting themselves free with real estate. But it takes time.
It does.
It takes information. It takes income. It takes access. It don't come overnight. It's not going to come because you...
Well, they do make it sound sexy. I agree with you.
Yes.
Most of it sounds very sexy. But I still like the dialogue.
Yeah.
Like I like you guys talking about it. You talking about finances or real estate with a marriage combination in it. I love these kind of conversations. I think it's educating people in a way that have not received this information, especially people that look like you and me.
Yeah.
And so I'm encouraged by that. But again, to round that off, there's other people that didn't expect people that look like me and you to be getting educated in information.
Now that's where the power is.
And that's why they got to shut it down.
That's what's breaking them. But they can't. Here's the thing.
Yeah, they're going to try. That's why if you notice a lot of things with social media, they're bringing it back. Influencers, the podcast folks out there, they're trying to figure out ways to start taking that money. They're trying to force people back into going to work because they bought those very expensive buildings and they need their commercial real estate dollars.
That is true.
So there's things I'm one of those, I'm sort of like a conspiracy theory. I'm like, I don't just listen to the words that the people say. I try to see
the patterns and
the lines, and I'm like, just see what's going on in society, and you'll see what they're putting on the news, but they're missing the big story.
That's 1,000% true, and we don't even watch the news for that very reason. But
I still watch it though.
I like what you said.
I just want to see what Trump gonna do next.
That's a distraction.
Trump a wild boy.
That's a distraction too. That's a distraction.
I like what you said before we started about the talented 10th and people who were going to make it regardless of whatever, right? And if you look throughout history, and while the numbers were much fewer for sure, and I think about books like there's a great book about the first black stockbroker. It's called The Prince of Darkness. Don Cheadle's actually going to play him in the movie.
Book. I like
it's an amazing book.
Really? Okay.
But what you find is a Haitian slave who played the game like white folks, right? In the times of slavery. So in the 1700s. And he sued white people when he wasn't supposed to. He put, information in the press. He played the game.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
And what you're talking about, that's why I like these kind of informational pieces that you guys are doing. Because we don't know this. Like, I don't know this.
And it's a black story.
And there's several black stories.
There are.
So you have to ask yourself, how do all these wonderful black stories get suppressed?
That's true.
We have no lineage. We don't see any kings. We don't see any queens. But if you go back and you look at the art in some of these prestigious places, you start seeing black folks on the wall and you get confused because history has told you that there were no black people.
You gonna turn me up, man. I'm
no,
turn
I'm being
up.
honest, and that's why I'm saying I know that you feel like some of this stuff is kind of misinformation, but it's also educating people, and they start to go down there. They start digging down these holes.
Some do.
I'm hopeful that
some get taken advantage of. There's plenty of people with $20,000 on a credit card because somebody sold their ass
there also
dreams.
has to be
Don't
some
do
accountability.
that part. Let me just say, don't do that part, y'all.
No, but it does increase the numbers. It definitely does increase the numbers. And I'll say, one point I'm gonna go back and say I'm not gonna fully turn up, but I want to touch on a point he made. But
There you go.
in general, the internet has democratized information to a point that now these conversations can happen and they can be other, like we've had couples from all over the country reach out to us and go, hey, we're doing real estate in this small part of the world, in some small part of the country. We're the only Black couple here. And the fact that you guys are talking about this in Houston means everything to us. We had a couple reach out from a small town in Florida who own 5 rentals and building up a portfolio. And they like, we don't know anybody who is Black doing this at all. We just thumbed through it. We fell into it. And this means something to us. So that's why we started it, truly.
And, you know, and can I add something else too? I have to say this, and it's not off point, but I do want to mention it. And I don't know if you guys have one, and that's about mentors. When you said that about these people, oftentimes they're starting by the seat of their pants and they don't really, they're figuring it out by themselves and they had no true mentor. And I always tell people that was my big fail, that I didn't have a true mentor that could lead me by the hand. That's why my one ex-girlfriend's parents, I loved them. I still to this day, I saw them recently, they were at a park and they were the first ones that educated me. I'm glad that I bumped into them about real estate. Ironically, my father, who I never wanted to listen to, was always interested in real estate, but he was like, he couldn't
figure it out.
He couldn't make it happen.
Yeah.
He was trying. But to see this family and, you know, this little town, you know, they owned a lot of property there. So it was very, for me, it was educational. This relationship, it was about that woman, but it was really this education I was being around these people. They were the closest things to mentors where they were sharing information freely. And the mother was like, hey, we got a house over here in Fifth Ward. And if I wish my mind would have been more clear at that time because I was focused so much on being a DJ, but she was giving me all these opportunities where I probably could have had 15 homes. He's like, oh, you got some land out there in Fifth Ward if you want it.
You can right now. We happen to sell houses.
No.
Here's the thing.
Listen, I was getting some bottom basis prices. But at that time, my ears were hearing, you know, you might say 30,000 to me. At that time, like, oh no, you crazy, lady. You know, there's a fourplex over here or something like that. No, that's out of my league. I can't handle it, you know, because you don't know.
You didn't realize.
Now I look back like,
dang.
Dumb.
Listen. Now is the time for everybody and everybody out there listening. And this is specifically for Black folks because I want people to understand the oldest generation of Black people who spent their lives buying all this stuff want to pass it down, but they're looking for the right people to go find them. And that means you knock on a lot of doors. It's the truth, right? We've built houses in these areas. We've talked to these old homeowners, these people who've owned their house 60, 70 years, and they're literally on death's door and want to pass it down.
But I understand what you're saying.
Because their children don't want it. It's like what Chris Senegal did. He bought a portfolio of 30 properties from a family who couldn't pass it down to their child because their child was, doing some other stuff. The reality of the situation is there's so much opportunity. And it's not a price thing. It's a principle thing. Wow. They want to pass it down to people who look like them.
I need to hear that today.
I'm telling you, man.
I got to get my 15, man.
Look, but it's there. It's there. If you put it out in the universe that you want it,
I'm not that aggressive, man, to go walk up to somebody to, hey, you're on death's door.
No.
You got 3 weeks left.
And that's not.
Come on.
You got 3 weeks left.
That's not what I'm saying.
Why are we doing this?
It's relationship. Relationship.
This is what I would do. If I started off today with no money, which we started off with absolutely no money, but I had time, I'd go knock on every single door in a Black neighborhood and say, I'm a young Black man. I want to buy a house. I don't know how. Will you show me? Will you introduce me to somebody? Do you have a house?
That's very aggressive.
Can I
would have never
paint
did
something?
That.
Can I
do
something?
I love
it's a way to do it with no money.
I can cut your grass. Can I cut your grass?
Can I do something?
I see you have a need.
We've had people on this podcast who've done that in small towns and big towns, and it's worked for them. One guy owned multifamily. Guy sold him a 12-unit apartment in Louisiana. Why? Because he knocked on it. Hey, man, I'll cut the grass out. Y'all figure it out.
Whatever you need me to do.
Had no money. Now he owns 25 doors. So those stories all exist. And to touch back on the point you made about our history, right? That history exists, whether it's Fifth Ward or First Ward or Gentilly in New Orleans or, all these communities where Black people strived and they worked their ass off to build these communities, they're still there. Those people are still there and they still care just as much as they did in 1954.
This is true.
In 1946. So really, it's up to now us, this generation, to care enough to go reach out to them and bridge that gap.
That's very interesting. I never thought about it like that. I'd really have to have a real powwow with myself to pump me up to go do that.
You don't have to do that now. Where you are now, that wouldn't necessarily make sense. But
No, I don't think so, man. Some of the people that you probably don't like, they also still do that. They go knock on doors to get their business. And those, according to them, it seems that they're multimillionaires with huge portfolios. But some of these guys, and
Let's not say you don't like them.
No, so
some of, and I know which ones you're talking about. Probably some of them that don't necessarily look probably like us, but some of them I don't follow those.
I just think
but some of the ones that are straight, some of the financial guys that look like me, I like them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like them, and I like where they came from because it's showing other people that, hey, man, you don't necessarily have to do what he did, the bad stuff. You could actually do this other stuff and make money.
True.
Yeah.
But our society has dramatized crime to such a level, and it looks so romantic.
Yeah.
But in real life, it's not romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like them perpetuating this other story of this afterlife of this is where I'm at now. And they say it with so much gusto. Like Wall Street Trap is one of my favorites. I'm just gonna put it out there. I like Wall Street.
I love Wall Street.
Wall Street one of my
shout out to
favorites.
Wall Street.
I like
all that. And here's the thing. We have friends, direct friends, went to prison for a very long time. Millionaires in real estate.
That's right.
Real life stories of folks. And they
Absolutely.
put the same principles that they did in the drug game
into
to
this
real estate.
And they so smart. And listen, and that's all I need us to see. There's so many of us doing these other things, and if they took that that hustler's instinct and put it into this other stuff,
Because it's the same principles.
it's the same principles.
anyway.
Same principles.
And you don't have to worry about sleeping with a gun under your pillow. Sorry, but I had some friends that lived the alternative lifestyle. Not that alternative.
Our friend that went to prison, he got shot 9 times.
Wow.
Got stabbed. Went to prison twice.
So what made him obviously change?
Look, being at the right place at the right time.
He was.
Being in prison when the guys from Enron went to prison. And so he had the
Really?
opportunity to sit
have
and talk with them.
And here's the craziest part about it.
Mentors.
Mentors.
Even in prison.
Even in prison.
The craziest part about it is he had to make himself uncomfortable to learn the information. So he don't drink coffee. They used to drink coffee every morning and watch the stock market and the news. He said, I started drinking coffee, putting my leg up
Put his leg up like that.
And he'd go in the cafeteria. He was in federal prison. And talk to these guys, and they taught him the game. And when he came out, he got more mentors. Mentors in real estate. People. Some of his mentors are the most conservative people that I
believe it.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Trumpers, whatever. But the information.
I'm always curious
the
about
color.
that. Those people that give that information. Is it because sometimes I think they're giving the information is almost tongue in cheek.
Don't care.
Like, not that they don't care.
No, I'm saying
they
I
don't
wouldn't.
think. Well, no, I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they think that you're capable.
Sometimes.
Or they see
And so
that
they
you
just
are
have this
capable.
conversation.
Sometimes.
Or they see that you are capable. And I hate that, but you different.
Oh, you're different.
You're
than
not,
other
you're not
ones.
like the
Sometimes not
other
that.
ones.
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
Because I was always that.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the construction trade. I'm 17 years in construction. It's all I've ever wanted to do since I was 12 years old.
Wow.
But construction's it's a good old boy society.
Absolutely.
And the people who mentored me were all white. I didn't know a black face in construction. I was always the youngest. I was always the only black. And there were some people who, like you, I remember I was in a meeting, it was 6 a.m. meeting, and my hair was long. I hadn't seen my barber in like a month. And our director of operations, he asked me, he's like, are you growing an afro? And I was like, no, I just haven't been to my barber. Can't you just go to Supercuts? No, I can't. I'm going to go see my barber. And it was it just blew his mind up that I couldn't just go get a haircut, or that I had to go get a haircut when Johnny Blaze over there got long ass bangs and it don't matter, right? But my long hair is a problem for you. And I remember when I got promoted to project manager, and he was the person who had to promote me. Now, I made them promote me because of the work.
That's right.
And he said, well, the only reason we're promoting you is because of the work you do and the relationship you have with your clients. I said, why else would you promote anybody? Why would you? Because the reality of the situation
Well,
is,
he's letting you know that I'm uncomfortable with you.
But you know who wasn't? The 70-year-old Mexican man who started the company and this white man who worked for him. Who, this Mexican immigrant built a $40 million construction company and he hired this white man to be his operations manager. And that white man went to A&M and, this and that. And he had all the things.
He put a face up on his thing. Yeah.
So the reality of the situation is he's viewing me from this lens of, you ain't supposed to be here, which statistically I'm not, sure. But you know what? In our office, and this is the point that I was going to make earlier, talking about history.
It's not that you wasn't supposed to be there, by the way. It's that you've not seen somebody that looked like you there.
That is true.
And we think that we can't be in those spaces. And you blow that out the water when other brothers see you.
That's true.
The only bad thing about that is when they think, oh man, you gotta act white to do. Nah, brother, I'm doing this to make my money, and I love
my
doing
brother
it.
Thinks that my whole birth brother thinks that some white man runs our company. Like he literally he's like, man, there's some white folks behind them. It's like, it's been me and her this whole goddamn.
That's kind of interesting that people still in this particular year, because you never know how long these things will be around, but people still think that way. It's scary that they don't think that people who look like you are capable of doing big things.
So in our office, I have 2 pictures up because when I used to go to white offices all the time, I used to interview for jobs and whatever, I'd see 2 pictures. I'd see the white men on the steel beam in the Empire State Building eating lunch.
Yeah,
and that was like construction. It was like, and I worked with several guys who were related to somebody, some lineage back to those people. And that was true American construction. So in my office, I have a picture of literally sharecroppers because my family background is landscaping. And I have a picture of one single black man with a wheelbarrow with the U.S. monument behind him. And that's the one picture that I found that represents blacks building America. Because we have a history. We built this country.
We did.
But it's not documented. You can't find the pictures of it, right? So for me, I had to find my Empire State Building I-beam lunch photo. So when you come to my office, you see my lineage. You see our contributions to America.
That is so sad. And you know what? I believe purposely that information is, I don't want to use the word hidden. It is not shown to you.
True.
So you won't ever think that you have the ability to grow outside of that.
Or to unlock
And I believe, in my opinion, that it is purposely done. It's gotten to the point, no, I take that back. It was purposefully done. And it's so ingrained in a particular culture that they continuously do it out of habit.
Because if you didn't, you see how when we take something, it gets better.
Yeah.
So you can't give us too much, because if we get too much,
we take it over.
We just get better. We kill it.
But see, that's why blacks in real estate is so important, because home ownership is the foundation of wealth building. And if you look at this country, it was founded on business ownership and land ownership. Mm-hmm. So for the tax benefits, for passive income, for legacy, for long-term financial gain, you make your money owning a business, an operating business, or
so why don't they teach that in school?
Because school is a joke.
And
just to
also,
be honest.
well, and honestly, you can't teach if everybody did
I can't
it.
comment on that. I work for a
No,
wonderful
you cannot.
university.
Listen, okay?
College is different.
The reason why they
But
don't teach that
primary
in school is because you cannot, if everybody did it, we live in a capitalistic society, right? So if everybody could be a millionaire, then there would be no millionaires, right?
Well, that's what's happening right now. Everybody started turning into influencers, and people started walking away from their jobs. They didn't need it anymore. I'm telling you, we are watching we're living in an age, and man, I hope I get to be a ripe old age to see what my son does with this, because we're living in this very crazy time where people have empowered. COVID had taught people to empower, like, you know what? I wasn't happy at this job. And they learned to do other things that made them happy and walk away from these jobs.
That's true.
And right now, these folks, whomever these folks are trying to figure out a way to get these people back, because this country is built on the backs of other people.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. What? I told you I'm the rogue one.
You are the rogue one. So we have we typically have a 30-minute podcast, and anytime we have great conversation, I just want to keep going. And then I ask, like, you got to come back.
Let's just run
we
to
have
an
to
hour.
do this again.
10 minutes.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm the rogue.
Hey, y'all got to leave this in. You can't edit
metrics.
this part out.
I'm like, boom.
We make our money in real estate, so we do the fuck we want. But the reality situation is this. The reality situation is this. Most people, right? Most people, the everyday person has a job problem. They don't necessarily have a deep desire to do something meaningful. They just don't like what they do, right? So that journey to find that meaningful thing will bring the income that you ultimately want to have. But typically, somebody's experiencing a job problem. So how do you control the workforce for the future? You give them a seat at the table. Because if people have the ability,
everybody can't have a seat at the table.
People can
Table
have
not big
a
enough for
proxy
everybody.
seat at the table. They might not necessarily have their seat at the table, but can people build wealth? Can people have more than they have now? Yes. That's the reality of the situation. There is enough pie for people to have more pie than America has let them have.
Not everybody.
Now, the reality of the situation is, yes,
Okay.
everybody. How that happens is a different thing, right? So I'll give you an example. Employee-owned companies is probably the easiest example of that, right? ESOPs. Everybody has a seat at the table. When I worked for Hensel Phelps, which is a huge construction company, it's employee-owned. So I'm an intern. I'm going to the printer. I'm going to print 100 copies or whatever. You know, my project manager told me, this is my paper. This is my ink. I'm an owner here. So don't waste my money. Right? So that seat at the table is the reason why the project manager I used to work for, who retired 20 years ago, is being paid a pension by the company.
Wow.
By the company he owned. He worked there 30 years.
Right.
So that's not going to be every organization, but it's an example of what can happen.
I don't think that this country is willing. They took the pension away from you and faked you out into getting the 401k.
True, that's because they ruined pension dollars with 401ks and bullshit from the stock market. It's a game.
Which we didn't know.
True.
I mean,
No one didn't tell us.
Some people knew.
Anyway, some people knew, but the majority of us, we get. Anyway, I don't want to. I'm not going to.
That's why you got to stop watching the news, Mr. Hatta.
But I like to watch all sides. I want to watch the lies that are being told, and I want to figure out the truth for myself, and then I'm gonna come up with my own conclusion, regardless. Anyway. But I just want to say again, because I know she gonna make sure you stop on time. I appreciate all the stuff that you guys are talking about. It's interesting to see. It seems like your dynamic of you all building wealth together is kind of different. My wife, she came with her stash, and I came with mine, and so we'll go from there. We don't really discuss money. We just
do. Y'all blend money?
No,
Did you put her stash with your stash?
No, I don't want her to put it. It's her stash. I'm kind of different like that. I'm so, I'm older. So I'm old school. You do what you want with your money. I don't care. Everything in my life is literally paid for because I never trusted.
So what happens when you die?
Well, I have honestly, I have trusts and all that stuff.
But those are for the kids. What about for her?
Oh, no, she's in the trust.
Oh, okay.
No, you got to take care of your people.
Yeah.
You know.
But do you feel, and you can stop me
I'm
whenever
gonna.
you want. I got 7 minutes.
The countdown
I do not rescind my time. Anyway, so here's my question. And so we built everything we had together.
We did.
So I ain't have nothing but a job when I started here, right? And same here. So we have a different mindset.
You do.
If I came to it from a different position, if I got married later or whatever, I would be very much like you, where it was isolated. But we found a huge value in putting all the beans in the pot to grow the pot, right? What's your philosophy on that? And
I think you should.
do you feel like it's limiting?
I think you should. We have discussion. We're so into baby world right now, man. We're just enjoying that.
Thing,
Yeah,
yeah. We got a 3-year-old.
And our lifestyle, you know, my years of work has afforded me the ability to be leisurely, so to speak, and owning a couple of things. And I still own my record company. I've always been an entrepreneur. But I will say this is the funny thing, listening to you guys is true. You guys to me are true entrepreneurs. I am not. I have always had a job, but I've always had my own thing on the side. But it was just something fun that I was doing on the side. It's all accidental for me. It's something in my brain that I like to have somebody giving me some cash on the side.
No, I'm with you.
Because I walked away and I'm like, I had no plan. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to chill here every day. And then you watch, and you know, your wife like, see you later. And you over there watching Bloomberg and some shorts and a wife beater, you know, all right. And, you know, I'm so happy I got this opportunity because I thought I was done, you know, and, but I don't count, like you guys can truly count being entrepreneurs. And I was on this other podcast and they were like, well, how do you are an entrepreneur? I'm like, it's all accidental for me.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work too, because trust me, having a record company, if you have big artists, cash still flows in. You got to do publishing. It's all work. And, you know, if you got property, I don't have, you guys probably have managers. I do not.
No,
I do
we
a lot.
manage our own rentals, but we have a company.
See?
So our rentals are easier because of the tenant class of our particular rentals, but
How many properties do you own?
so at a time, we had a huge portfolio of 32 homes.
Ooh, y'all doing it.
Too many doors.
I gotta come take some classes.
We went through challenges.
Will y'all be my
in
mentor?
2019
I need y'all to be my mentor. I'm gonna sign up.
We just got to get you to come to the conference. We're doing
I
a
am.
conference.
And
Y'all heard that live.
I am.
He said, I am.
Because I need to. Listen. The only way to grow is allow yourself to be in places where you might be a bit uncomfortable.
Yep.
And like I said, I'm accidental. You might have some homes, but I don't really feel like y'all. You know, when I get a portfolio of 30 homes,
No.
Now we talking.
Here's the crazy part. My goal was 65 doors.
Ooh.
Because we started off from the investment side. So our goal was, I literally had a calculator. I was like 65 homes times $250 a door because we leverage and whatever. It's $19,000, whatever a month. That's our passive income. And then it wasn't accidental, but what we graduated this into was an operating business because my skill set was building. And we got our asses handed to us
money's
in
at.
2019 where we sold the majority of our portfolio. We literally had, so now we're down to like 4. But the hard part about that is, the good and bad part is, it's a lot of moving parts with 32 doors. It's easier to get cash flow from a business. And then we essentially created jobs for ourselves. So we streamlined everything out. We had Airbnbs, we had a bunch of shit. Now I build them, run the construction company. She sells them, runs the sales team. And
that's good.
we stack our cash and invest our profits in our business and in long-term rentals where we don't have a bunch of moving parts. So we made that thing easier. But we have friends with lots of multifamily, all these other things, but they find what works for them. And everybody has the ability to do what works for them.
Right.
It's available for us all.
And we created this community so that people can
Have those
conversations, be exposed to, because you're like, yeah, I understand real estate builds well. But if you're not around people who do that, because, when we quit our jobs, our parents was like, wait, what? Huh?
It was.
You know what I mean? There wasn't encouragement to do it. So now that,
because they haven't seen it. They come from a generation that they're not used to that.
So we want to bring people together so that you can see. So it's just natural. It's like everyday thing. Like, oh yeah, such and such owns several apartment buildings.
Well,
such and such
those
owns
people
this.
going to be watching y'all because you're educating people with your podcast. You're part of the generation that's educating people, and that presents a problem for those that need people to work for them.
That's true.
So I just want y'all to know it. Sometime if you start seeing people,
and we teach the people who work for us to own, and we teach the people who work for us to invest.
What he's saying is that the hate gonna come. Because we're empowering.
Not from people that look like you. It's just that you're empowering a group of people who do look like you, who have not been empowered before, even with the information. And you'll be surprised, man. The little bit of information that you may get, that's what got me. That literally is why I was able to go to the job. And they say, "Well, Hatta, we want you to do this."
No.
Well, what you want and what I want is two different wants, my friend. So I'm going on vacation. And I always tell people that story, but that's truly what I did. I went on vacation and never went back.
Came back.
You know, the crazy part, the people who taught us, the initial mentors we had in real estate,
Stop opening
weren't
doors.
Black people.
Stop opening doors
I can believe
for
that.
conversation.
Like, because the Black people that we knew told us, you got to get it on your own. So we started talking to other couples because nobody talked to us. Nobody said, "Hey, this is a pitfall right here. Oh, don't do that shit."
Yeah.
Or like
that happened to me in my career too.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that funny? Sometimes the people who look like you will not award you with the information needed. So
when they could easily give it.
But I sometimes think that they think that you're going to take something that belongs.
But guess
to
what?
them.
You can't get nothing if your hands are closed. So I can't take, just like
But
I
what
can't
God
take
has done
from
for you,
I can't
what He's
get
done
it.
for you, you can't think that He's not or is supposed to do it for.
We've seen him do it.
Right.
Here's the craziest thing, and a friend of mine told me this, and we'll end on this because I'm out of time. We'll end on this. A friend of mine told me
She looked like I agree with that.
An Indian mentor. Guy, I mean, he literally gave him the game. He said he met him on site. He gave him the game. This is a Black guy. He said, he asked him, "Why are you doing this? Why are you sharing all this stuff with me?" He said, "Because information is the one thing that I can give you everything I have, and I didn't lose anything." So we make our money in real estate. We don't make our money in podcasting. Not that we don't want to make money,
That's true.
but
Feel y'all on
the
that.
reality of the situation is we give this information to hopefully change at least one couple's life.
I think you have. I think you keep doing this. And listen, and this is going to be you have to do what you're doing right now as far as this podcast is concerned, because it's a love fest. And you not only do you like communicating, and it's cool, you can sit down with the person that you love and communicate and talk to other people, but there's somebody that will watch something that you see and they'll be touched in some way and say, "You know what? I don't know if I can do that exactly like how they did it, but I can most certainly save my money or
something.
pay my bill off." If that's the only thing that you take out of it. Get out, pay your bills, man. Pay off all those credit cards.
Pay your bills.
Just pay it off,
Man,
every month. Pay the card off, man. Don't get lost in that trap. And I know people will say that's easy to say. Let me say this too. I started off doing this very young. I will give my father this. The one thing that he used to always get us was savings bonds. Now, of course, he took them back and used up all the money. But it was in my mind. So when I first started working, because I had saw that, believe it or not, I bought savings bonds. And my friends were like, "What's that you getting?" Well, man, one day I'm going to keep it for X amount of time. And this $25, they're going to give me $50. They give them double it? That don't make no sense to me. So I did that all the years I was working, going through college. And then one day I went back and started counting up how much it was. Oh, all right, homie, you got some good interest rate on this now. What you want to do? So it starts off small. So I might not be able to do what you do, but I can certainly start where I am and move up. And I think you said something very early on that was very important. Two things. Find your way And then if you can find somebody and y'all can connect and do it together, do it together. It's easier, it's simple. And there's nothing like a woman who has your back. And I think we lose sight of that because, especially being men, you see another hot one and another hot one and another hot one. You think you got to have them. Man, the peace of mind with one good woman will take you very, very far. And usually a man that has a good woman, generally, either they're super, super happy or they got their money game straight.
That's good. Look, that's the word. That's the end right there.
Look, that is the end.
You want to be
That's
super,
funny.
super happy or get your money game right?
And if you can get both,
Get a good woman, then you lucky. And
there's some other stuff in there too. If you can get that, you got the trifecta.
Okay, we working on your look, but
I mean, you got that shape.
Well,
so on that note, we've had lots of amazing conversation here at the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast with the Mr. Madd Hatta.
thank y'all.
He told us about his real estate portfolio. We got to really chop it up, and I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
y'all
So
much.
this has been the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. We're Kevin and Aisha Shelton. This is Mr. Madd. We out.
Aisha,
Hey.
na 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 na, get to know you.